What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Run Pure Sports. Happy Monday. Joined by the boys, DC Hoop. A nice 8-game slate. Injury news all over. Should be a fun one. I'm excited to dive in. First of all, I'm going to go over to my boy Hoop. You had a good night in the NBA streets yesterday. Saw you up there. Took down the Thunderdome. A lot of the bigger stuff I saw. So nice night for you. Talk about it. And a lot of winners were given out over the weekend. NBA yesterday, I saw NASCAR there all over the place. MMA was good. Golf as usual. So big weekend over here at Run Pure Sports.
Yeah, it was a solid finish to the weekend in the NBA streets. Wasn't going to play, and then I was like, you know what, I'll throw some teams in, and ended up working out well. The crazy part is it shipped everything, like high stakes wise, and I didn't play Jokic. He went off for 92, so the team didn't have Jokic, but, you know, if you played Jokic, you had to play a lot of cheap dudes, and most of them busted last night. So, went with an approach that I typically don't, more kind of balanced, and it worked out a little bit, or quite a bit, because it was a very good night. And good weekend overall. You know, the Arnold Palmer didn't go my way. I mean, I trusted. We'll save this for the Tuesday golf show. But Rory McIlroy just sucks at golf. And then, I mean, what a pussy. I don't know if you saw the comments, like, complaining about how tough the course was and it's too tough. Like, that's just so weak. So he's going back on the no playlist. But like I said, you guys will get that tomorrow night on the PGA show. MMA was, I mean, super close. I made a little bit of money, but it was like a very close, like 1v1, like on all my teams. Didn't have enough. Spivak, right? I mean, he was really the difference maker. Yeah, I had like the field with him. I was right around the same, because I know that Greg Hardy guy is just, I mean, he's awful. He can't, they can't put him up for many more fights. I mean, he's a disaster. But yeah, not enough of him. Very dominant performance. The one I was most impressed with, though, was what's the guy's name? I know his price tag on
RDA.
That was very impressive too. But the dude before, the 8.3K guy, I know their prices. I don't know their names.
Jalen Turner was 8.
The dude that he dominated Edison Barbosa.
Oh, Bryce Mitchell, yes.
That was impressive, man. That was very impressive. Like, he was so quick.
He's different, man. We talked about that on the MMA show for people that watch that. Like, he's just that's what exactly what we thought was going to happen. It was crazy that he was only minus 170. Like, that's one of those. If they were to announce a rematch, it would be like minus like 900 or something.
It would have to be massive. I mean, there was not one point in that fight where you're like, all right, Barbosa's going to win. I mean, he did exactly what he wanted, and those takedowns were so. How do you defend those takedowns? Like, those were like timed so perfectly where, like, you can't even defend it. But to me, that was like the most impressive performance of the entire card. So that was fun to watch. And it was a good weekend overall. Got the players this week, got the new promo, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So yeah, it was a good weekend, and back at it here on Monday.
Yep, absolutely picking some winners. DC, head over to you. The MMA show is always fun, and we had a good one, a couple breaks here and there, a couple questionable decisions, I think, throughout the card. But yeah, Bryce Mitchell, really impressive. How was your MMA Saturday? Dive in some winners today. I saw you in Discord breaking down the slate. How's it going over there?
Things are good, man. Yeah, MMA was a lot of fun. Had a couple misses, but I think I tweeted 10 bets. I think those went 7 or 8 for 10. So yeah, it was like plus 50% betting, and MMA was slightly positive. You got to kind of get to the top to really, if you're playing the big tournaments, you're not going to do that well at DFS unless you kind of get a share of the first prize. But I think I cashed 70% of my entries or something. So good stuff there. Really, really fun card, and I'm excited we're doing that every week now, because it is good. Even the smaller cards, you could argue there's a bigger edge, right, on the lesser known fighters, perhaps on some of those early fights. So I'm excited we're doing that. We got the RPS party coming up next week. So some good trash talk in the Discord. Yeah, things are good, and a fun slate tonight, by the way. 8 games, and man, potentially one of those slates where there's almost too much value. Like the Warriors, obviously sitting out their whole team. That's like the main thing. We knew that since last night. But there are other spots too. That Portland-Minnesota game looks potentially very, very tasty. So yeah, fun night of NBA DFS ahead.
Yeah, excited to dive in, talk about it. Definitely going to be a fun slate. A lot of ways to go. Jokic yesterday just put up an absolute monster. Bojan Bogdanovic, AP's boy, put up a monster. Very fun night in the association.
By the way, one, congratulations, but two, that's pretty awesome to ship without the guy that scores 96 fantasy points.
It was weird. It was just kind of like a weird slate because if you played him,
did he almost hunt you down, Jokic teams? He must have got close.
Well, in like the high, it was weird because like even in the high stakes stuff, like the 2K and the 1K thing, I won him by 30 without Jokic. So I don't know. I was like,
no one had him, right? Or I don't.
No, he was like a few people did have him, and there's like 25 to 30% owned, but like it forced you into like a weird build where you had to play a bunch of like 4K guys. A lot of people had him and played Herb Jones, who really didn't do much.
Okay.
So it was like really, really bizarre, and I was never in jeopardy of like not winning, which was weird. It was a very weird slate.
Nice.
I wish it would happen like that more often.
Yeah, nice cruising to victory the whole way. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
that's how pure hoop runs. But we also have some members that run pure too. The members never win segment. First of all, the new promo, Hoop hinted at it. Today it is dropping. It's live right now. It's Players 33. Players, as in this week's golf tournament, Players 33 gets you 33% off your first payment. Make sure you head over to Run Pure Sports. Check it out. All you freeloaders out there, huge golf tournaments this week, Millie Makers, we got NASCAR, we got MMA, NBA, still a lot of stuff going on. Playoffs NBA, which is coming up. We absolutely print those, the showdowns. Rubio, it's not on a members never win today, but I saw Rubio ship someone like $1,500 from $10 on the showdown last night. So content's always rolling over here. Players 33 gets you 33% off your first month. Talking about recent golf hits, John Galt won the Golf Q this weekend. He's always in there printing. He was in the MMA streets printing. He's in NBA. John's always printing. He got a golf seat. Congrats to you. AP won the $50,000. AGJ12991 won the $100,000. And then JN Gingery 912 won the big $275,000. We also had some wins over the weekend. Pasil Pampu won the qualifier seat in MMA, the $8,000. He joined Hoop in there with a live seat, or not a live seat. It's online. Eventually you can win a live seat, but congrats to you. He's always in Discord named Rule. Congrats to you. And the man won $100,000 in NBA last night. A lot of screenshots in the NBA streets, but $100,000. Another member took third in that tournament for 20 grand, I believe. So shout out to you. No better time to join. Again, it's Players 33 for 33% off. Hoop, do you want to just give a little breakdown of the golf this Thursday? Because BigT shipped $1 million last year. Would love to have it stay in the RPS crew, but man, it's a huge tournament, huge prize pools. The pricing's already out. So give the people a little sneak peek. You're going to be on a show on Tuesday. We have Wednesday shows, tons of shows, but give a little sneak peek for the people.
Yeah, we'll roll out a ton of content, obviously, for the players. And this is, the scene of the crime last year where BigT got the big, $1 million win. And, we'll be looking to back it up again this year. I mean, tons of massive contests, couple milli makers. There's going to be huge prize pools for Showdown. So the content schedule kind of be as followed. Like Tuesday, we'll do our free show that we always do, me, AP, Snyder. And then on Wednesday, you get Tambo, BigT, and Uncle T. That is a premium show where they really go in depth and talk about some different strategies to indeed take down like the milli maker. We have the oops, my earpod switched over again. I'm gonna literally throw these things out the window one day.
I gotta buy you a new pair and just ship them.
Disaster.
You always struggle with
I swear it's just awful.
For someone that wins enough Thunderdomes in their lives to struggle with the AirPods, it's
supposed to be like top of the line product, right? These things are fucking shitty, and it tilts me every single time I do
perfect. Mine's good over here.
I'll tell you where it went wrong. Like
I love these things.
My daughter wanted AirPods, so I got her AirPods. And it's connected to my iTunes. So she has a set, I have a set. If anything comes up on her iPad, it automatically connects to her iPad. So it's just if someone knows how to figure that out.
I could see myself struggling with a similar problem to that. I understand.
It's awful. So we got the Wednesday premium show with Uncle T, BigT, and Tambo. And then we're going to do those Showdown shows that we've been doing as well, round 2 and round 3. will be on the Mayo Media Network. And then round 4 Showdown, which is Friday night, will be a premium show. Usually it's BigT, and I believe Tambo's on there as well. And they break down the strategy for round 4, which a lot of game theory and stuff goes into that because people just tend to play the dudes at the top. But this is the Showdown stuff's going to be big this week. There's going to be massive prize pools. I mean, there has been for just these regular events. I can't imagine what they're going to be rolling out for the Players Championship, which is obviously a huge event. So all the golf stuff will start tomorrow. Most of the written content, playbook, core plays, and things of that sort will hit this website usually like Wednesday morning. Everyone kind of starts getting their stuff in. So big week.
Yeah, grid breakdown. Very excited for it. Going to have a lot of RPS screenshots, I have a feeling. But hey, hit that big red subscribe button. Hit that like button for us, please. The red subscribe button, that'll let you know when Hoop does go live, when we have NASCAR shows and we have MMA shows. So hit the like button as always and hit that subscribe button for us, please. But 8 games on the slate. We got some injury news. We're going to dive right in. Talk about the first game on the slate, the Atlanta Hawks, the Detroit Pistons, 228.5 total. Atlanta is favored by 7.5. Go to the Atlanta side. Kevin Huerter is questionable. On the Detroit side, Frank Jackson out. Hamidou Diallo questionable. So not the most news in this first game. DC, I'll head over to you. I mean, Trae Young, 10-2. You can always play him. Cade Cunningham, you can always play him. He has ceiling, but nothing standing out too much in this game on a slate with a ton of value, like you were talking about, clear spots. So is it a fade for you?
I think so. It's the first game of the night, or one of the first two, that starts at the 7 Eastern time window. So much value out there and good studs, right? I think they're like both of those are true in later games, but we don't know exactly what those plays are going to be until we get some of the news. I don't really see anything in this game. Well, like, if you want to play Trae Young, it would be the stars, right, in this game that you can play, because there's going to be enough value to fill out your lineups later. And listen, Trae Young could be the top scorer on the slate, right? Certainly he does it enough times where if you want to play him, great matchup against Detroit, I have no problem with it. But, John Collins is back. It is a healthy team. I'm just not going to do it myself. Detroit side, like Cade Cunningham, been playing much, much better. I really haven't benefited from his good play recently. I've been kind of off him with Detroit healthier. But, yeah, you could go there if you wanted to, I think, as kind of a stud contrarian play. But that would be it. I certainly wouldn't touch any of the mid-range or cheaper players in this game, given the information we have right now.
Hoop, do you kind of see it the same way? More of a fade, stay away, or do you see some pieces we don't?
Yeah, I mean, there is some pretty significant news that we need to wait on. Like, we need to see D'Angelo Russell. Like, if he sits, Patrick Beverly, like if they sit, then like Karl Anthony Towns is probably like a close to a lock, at least for me on the slate. You got who else are we kind of waiting? Oh, Rudy Gobert. Like if he sits, that might shuffle some things there in Utah. It's just really hard to commit to this game, and the guys you want to commit to are kind of not pricey, but they're spends. Like Trae Young's the one guy I would play, but 10-2, like if you play him at 7 and the news doesn't go your way, I mean, you can be way behind the 8 ball. So very tough. John Collins at 6.1K, like maybe, but again, being an early game, it's just tough to commit to these guys. And then Cade Cunningham is probably the only Piston I'd play, and he's 7.5K. So more likely than not, I'm just going to be fading this game and take my chances, which I think most people will do. I don't think any of these plays are going to be like overly owned. So if you really like Trae Young tonight, I think you probably get him at pretty low ownership. I don't think a ton of people will play Cade Cunningham. So if you really like him, you'll get him at low ownership. But really, this game is going to be a fade for me.
Yep, 3 for 3. I'll agree on that. If you want to one off a Trae, we'll never say no. Make some sense as a contrarian spend. But there's 2 games that start at 7 p.m. Eastern. That was the first. Second game, Chicago Bulls, Philadelphia 76ers. Pretty big total, 233. Philly is favored by 7. On the Chicago side, big news. Vucevic is questionable. We'll get this news before locked. But, yeah, I mean, Vuce is big news. Thompson would slide in. His rebounding upside would definitely go up. The other guys would get a boost. The Zach LaVines, DeMar would have more usage. As far as the Philly side, Paul Millsap is out. Hoop, I'll go back to you. If Vucevic is out, are you going to go Tua DeRozan, Tua Levine, Tristan Thompson, something like that? Or is it just a stay away regardless?
Yeah, I mean, pretty tricky situation on the slate. I mean, we have this situation in Golden State where like they have like nobody, and it could be even less. I mean, they've ruled out all their main guys. Steph's out, Wiggins is out, obviously Draymond's still out. Gary Payton is out, Clay is out.
So we should have some money to spend if we want.
Yeah. So, and then they have guys questionable too. I mean, they have Otto Porter and Toscano Anderson questionable. I mean, they could legitimately have like 8 bodies tonight. So, like, that's going to be the best value on the slate. So, even if Vucevic misses, I don't know if I necessarily want to play a guy like Tristan Thompson over. I mean, you can. I mean, he'd probably be.
No, don't play Tristan Thompson tonight.
I mean, I am not. Trust me, you don't have to twist my arm to be.
No, I'm talking to the viewers. I'm talking to the viewers.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely
first game of the night. You're locking in Tristan Thompson tonight. No,
Portland value too. So yeah, there's a ton of value.
Yeah, I prefer the gold. I mean, it's one of those slates where you're going to have limited roster spots because you are going to have to play a few Warriors guys. Like every team you make should have, definitely at the minimum of 2 and probably 3 Warriors guys. So you just don't have a ton of spots. So we're looking for the spends tonight, really. We already have the value. We have all the value we need. We're trying to sort out the spends.
Yep.
And I don't know if I guess like Levine at 8.3K, I could potentially play. DeRozan at 9.7, I don't know. I probably won't go there. And then on the 76er side, there's really nothing for me. So again, another pretty, boring game for me where I don't want much exposure. Like I want other spends, I think. Like at 7 p.m. Eastern, I can't commit to Embiid or Harden or DeRozan without knowing whether or not D'Angelo Russell is going to be out. Because if he's out, like I said, Cat becomes like a phenomenal play tonight. And then Beverly's questionable too. So it's just really hard. You got these 2 7 p.m. Eastern games. If we don't have all the news, I'm most likely just fading both these games regardless of what's going on in these 2 individual games.
Makes sense. DC, are you the same? If Vooch is out, is it still a fade for you? Would you have a little interest in DeRozan, Levine spend up since you'll have the money? Embiid, Harden. I think they're tougher plays, Embiid, Harden, than the Bulls guys if Vooch is out because of their price. But what are your thoughts on it?
So I do anticipate Vucevic is going to play a big game for Chicago. He just didn't practice. Like they said, he's probably going to play. But if he does not play, I do think like DeRozan and Levine both going to have really, really heavy offensive loads. I mean, look at the centers behind Vucevic, right? It's Thompson and Tony Bradley. Like those guys are going to provide against Embiid, like literally 0 offense or close to it. You know what I mean? Outside of like putbacks is the only way that they're ever going to score. Like Dosunmu doesn't shoot much. Then you've got, just like their whole team outside of DeRozan and Levine is pretty low usage, especially when you consider the matchup of Embiid down low. So it's going to be a lot of DeRozan in the mid range and, Levine doing his thing too. So I do think the upside is there for those guys if Vucevic shits, just because I think they have almost nowhere else to go. So I don't mind those guys. I like them better than anyone in Atlanta and Detroit if Vucevic does sit. But right now, I expect Vucevic to play. And if he does sit, probably will have a little bit of exposure to both Levine and DeRozan. Just kind of split it up, I guess. Probably not on the same team, though.
Yeah, makes sense. So, yeah, Vooch plays like DC thinks. I think crossing off the first 2 games, only 2 that start at 7 and saying locks at 7:30 definitely makes some sense there.
And Vooch is typically a tougher guy, and he usually plays. Like he doesn't sit out many games. So I agree. Like I think he does play, and then for me, it makes it very easy. We talk about these games all the time, like the Chicago 76ers game. Great game to watch tonight. I'd love to tune in and watch it if I didn't bet on sports for a living, but unfortunately I do, and I just don't have much interest here.
There's 0 chance you would watch this game if you didn't bet. You don't watch it even with money on it.
That's a good point. Yeah,
but yeah, it's Eastern Conference. These guys might see each other in the playoffs. Pretty good basketball players. Next game on the slate, those 2 lock at 7 p.m. Eastern. This game 7:30. And then it goes to 8 o'clock. So standalone 7:30 Eastern, Houston Rockets, Miami Heat, 224.5 total. Big spread. Miami is favored by 15. On the Miami side, Kyle Lowry questionable, Oladipo questionable, Caleb Martin questionable. Going to the Houston side, Dennis Schroeder questionable. We saw him miss yesterday. KPJ had a really good game. Jalen Green, Christian Wood had a good game. And now Eric Gordon is out for this game too. DC, I'll go over to you. If Schroeder misses, are we going back to KPJ, to Jalen Green, some of these guys? It's a tough matchup. It's a big spread, but we did see them get there yesterday. And then talk about the Heat side.
Yeah, but coming off a back-to-back, going to Miami, who gets Kyle Lowry back here. Now you've got the fully healthy, Miami squad, who kind of, when they're playing well, they're known for their defense, right? That's going to be the case when you've got Lowry, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo all in the lineup.
Is Lowry confirmed? I saw a question.
Yeah, I just saw he's in. Yep.
Yeah, he's gonna play. So I mean, it really does complicate things.
I don't like Houston's chances here, honestly, to compete much in this game. And even if you did, I mean, I know Kevin Porter's been good, and this would all be contingent on Schroeder missing, right? Where you would even consider these guys at all, I think. But are you really going to want to live in that mid-range in a tough matchup for a guy like Kevin Porter Jr., who's so inconsistent with all the just tremendous value we have later on, guaranteed, right? With Golden State, you've got studs to spend on. I don't see going to these Houston Rockets guys in the mid-range. Just seem too risky in a bad matchup for me. And with Miami, now you've got Lowry back. Doesn't take Jimmy Butler off the table. I think you could still play him if you wanted to. But it does, for me, take Tyler Hero off the table at 7,200. I'm not playing Kyle Lowry in this first game back at 7,300, no chance. So, yeah, that Lowry news, I think it weakens players on both sides, and I wasn't super interested in this game anyway. So, probably not going here. The one play I do kind of like is Bam Adebayo, just because it's a Houston, right? Just so many defensive opportunities, can crush the boards. And we just see bigs like him against Houston have big games. So, he would be the contrarian play I'd look for on Miami, just because I don't think he's really affected much by Lowry's addition. And I don't think people are going to go there at all. So Adebayo, my favorite play in this game, but overall don't love it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I didn't see that he was expected to play. So
yeah. I think it just happened. Yep.
Gotcha. I think it's can easily fade the first three games and make lock 8 p.m. Eastern. Hoop, what do you see?
Yeah, in lockstep, I mean, this is just not. I mean, we can mess around with Houston in certain spots, but this is not a spot where I want to be heavy on Houston. Traveling to Miami, one of the more defensive minded teams in the NBA, kind of at full strength. I mean, pretty much at full strength tonight. Like, I just see. I don't think Houston has much of a chance to compete here back to back as well. I just think it's a great spot to fade, and no interest in Miami. I mean, I don't know. I want Miami in competitive games. I want to know Jimmy Butler's going to play 40 minutes or Bam's going to play 38 minutes. Here, this can just be an easy coast victory. I have no interest whatsoever here.
Yep, I'm definitely with you. So we got news, so it's not bad. Fading the first three games at lock at 7:30 and before, waiting on some news that we might not all have, definitely makes some sense. Before we get in the next game, hit the like button for us, please. 391 watch and 128 likes. Hit that red subscribe button too while you at it. And if you're not a member, Players 33, we just came out with it today. Players 33 gets you 33% off your first month. So head over to Run Pure Sports and check it out. Haven't said too hi to too many people in chat yet. Ian, what's going on? Steve Anthony always in here. Jordan, John Parlay, Connor, Ryan McGee. We got Calvin Ridley, an account that is impersonating Calvin Ridley in here in the chat. I'm definitely enjoying talking to him. So chat's having fun today. Hit that like button while you're at it. Whoever's running that Ridley account. People are like, you really think you're talking to the real Calvin Ridley? People are making me laugh in YouTube chat. But hit that like button and subscribe button while you're at it. Let's get in the next game. 8 p.m. Eastern. DC's Minnesota Timberwolves take on the Portland Trailblazers. 231.5 total. Thought Miami's a big favorite. Minnesota's right there with them, a 14-point favorite. And why? You go to Portland side. Bledsoe, Nasir Little, Joe Ingles, Justice Winslow, Anthony Simons, Yusuf Nurkic, and Dame are all out. So, yeah, we're going to be looking to some Toronto pieces. As far as Minnesota, they have news themselves. Naz Reid, Patrick Beverley, Taurean Prince, and D. Russ are all questionable. Anthony Edwards is doubtful. Man, DC, a lot of injury news in this game for sure. We talk about the Warriors' value, but I don't think we can ignore this Portland value either. And then talk about the Minnesota side. Do you have a lean about D. Russ and some of these guys? What are you doing?
Yeah, Minnesota playing good ball, 1-4 straight. If you look at their game logs, they're putting up 120 plus points in almost every game. And now against this decimated Portland squad, I mean, you see why they're big favorites. Minnesota probably going to drop 130 plus points in this game, I think. And I mean, Edwards, I think, is pretty much as good as out for this game. That's at least the way I'm approaching it. It does seem like they're going to rest other guys too. I think either Beverly or D'Angelo Russell will sit, would be my guess. I don't know which one it's going to be, but if that does happen, either one of those guys is a tremendous play against this Portland team. Karl Anthony Towns, yeah, I mean, with Edwards out, with especially if D'Angelo Russell sits, yeah, I mean, at that point, Hoop, I think you said he would be a lock for you, pretty much with you on that. I mean, playing great, and like his only problem is he just doesn't have enough usage. When the usage funnels his way, he's going to have huge DFS games. He almost has to. So, yeah, I like Towns. Yeah, I kind of like him even if Russell's in there, but if Russell sits, he becomes just a fantastic play. Russell himself,
Drew Eubanks is not guarding him.
Yeah, and Trendon Wofford, and I mean, he's just gonna
clean up
on the board. So yeah, he looks like an awesome play regardless, but especially if Russell does sit. Russell himself, I think, is a good play, especially if Beverly sits. Same vice versa. And then if you get, it's possible that like all these guys sit for the Wolves, right? Maybe they just kind of give all their banged up dudes, Prince, Edwards, Naz Reid, Russell, Beverly, they sit all these guys. And then you've got tremendous value plays, guys like Jalen Noel, Jordan McLaughlin, I think would get a huge workload at that point. McDaniels, like you could almost have a not quite Golden State situation, but close to it with kind of better players, almost in a better spot, if you will, because the matchup against Portland couldn't be any better. So yeah, the Wolves, depending on how the news breaks, looks fantastic. I think you can rely on Cat regardless of how it breaks, but kind of the other pieces to me matter more on who ends up sitting for the Wolves. And then you go to the Portland side and they are just down everybody, obviously traded away. McCollum, Lillard's been out. It was Anthony Simons who has stepped up and had some very big games for Portland when he's given the opportunity, like last game when he played, and it was Winslow and Josh Hart that were out. So you saw Simons go off. Now Simons sits, Winslow still out, and Josh Hart going to play in this game. I mean, I think if Portland keeps this remotely close, Josh Hart is going to have a huge hand in it. So I think he's got big upside. Some risk too, right? Would you be surprised if they got blown out and Hart played like 20 minutes or something? No, but I mean, clearly has upside for 50 plus fantasy points, at least in my eyes. The other guys on Portland, you've got to look at them a little bit. Brandon Williams, I'm interested to get your opinion on him. Kind of a point guard, really the only point guard they have left, and he's 3,800, could play big minutes here. The bigs are interesting a little bit for Portland, so all over the place there. But I will say, Josh Hart, a guy that I'm absolutely willing to roll the dice on. Just huge upside, I think. So I'll take a chance there. Ellaby, I think, is interesting. But yeah, certainly a lot to talk about in this game.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about fading a lot of the first games because certain games are really good, and this is a game that I think on both sides you can have a lot of interest on. You also mentioned, like, if all those guys on Minnesota's out, Malik Beasley, I think, is the one that probably gets the biggest bump. Would you agree on that, DC? He'd be an elite play, or
if Beverly and Russell sit, I would go to Towns and then the point guards, Noel and McLaughlin will be my two favorite
over Beasley. Okay.
Yep, for sure.
And then on the Portland side, like Brandon Williams, sign me up. I mean, 3.8K. They have no point guard. Elijah Hughes. We saw him have a big game against Utah. He's 3K. Like these Portland guys, I think, are all very strong plays just because they have nobody. Hoop, I'll go over to you. Do you agree on the Portland side? Rank how you'd rank the value. And then on the Minnesota side, like if D-Russ and these guys are out, you said you're all over Towns. What if they play, though? Talk about that standpoint. If they play, how much interest you have?
Yeah, so now the slate starts to get a little bit tasty. I mean, the first 3 games, not much interest, but this is where it starts. And I like Towns either way. I think he's a great play regardless of who's in. If all those guys are in for Minnesota, I still like Towns. I mean, coming off a solid game, I mean, 60, 70 fantasy points. They're going to be without Edwards, most likely. I agree that he's probably going to sit here. That's enough to give him a big boost here. Then if those guys sit, if Russell sits, like I said, I think Cat's close to a lock for me. I think he'd be a phenomenal. I just don't see how he doesn't go off here against this Portland team with Russell and Edwards out. So that's news to wait for. It's part of the reason why, I'm not going to commit to the 7 p.m. Eastern guys. if Russell and Beverly are out, I mean, yeah, like Noel, I would like to see who starts in that situation. Whoever the point guard is that starts, I'd have a ton of interest in. Malik Beasley, I'd definitely have interest in at 4.3K. And then on the Portland side, a little more tricky just because they're so bad. They've gotten blown out 3 straight games. Brandon Williams, I think, is good play regardless. Josh Hart, he's the tough one for me because early on, like his minutes were super stable regardless of the game script. But now we've seen the last 3 games where they've gotten dusted. He only played 27 minutes, 31 in 23 minutes, and hasn't been over 30 fantasy points. So I think there is some risk, but man, like if he gets his full run, I mean, it's going to be all him. Like look at the dudes he's playing with: Keon Johnson, Elijah Hughes, Ellaby. Like he's going to be able to do whatever he wants out there. I think his minutes are safe as long as it's not like a massive blowout. They've been involved in massive blowouts where like they're just not playing their guys. Tonight could be different though because now Simons is out as well, and we'll see. But I think Hart is a fine play, but I do think there is some risk. But we need to see what happens with Beverly and D'Angelo Russell. But like I said, either way, I'm good with Cat. And then if those guys are out, we got more value to a slate where we already have a ton.
Yep, absolutely. So that's the only game that locks at 8 p.m. Eastern. The other 3, 7:30, 1 locks at 2 lock at 7. So all of us kind of agree the slate's locking at 8 p.m. Eastern today. If you want to one-off a Trey or something before, but it gets really interesting at 8.
Let's talk a little bit about. I think Josh Hart is one of the more interesting question marks on the slate. Like in terms of his ownership, because we kind of have the Portland news, right? We're not really waiting on anything there. You can kind of decide right now whether or not that's a direction you want to go in. He's kind of in that mid-range price tag. Title, what are your thoughts? Because there were a couple games. You guys know I look at like the tracking data, like drives, potential assists, passes made, time of possession. There were a couple games right after Hart got traded to Portland, I think, where he was like got a chance to be the man. Maybe Simons was out or something. And I remember you can't actually go look at the data. At least I don't know how from those games. But I remember seeing like, oh shit, like Hart, and if this role happens again, he is going to be a stud. It never really happened because he had to play like with Winslow, who can also do that a little bit, and then Simons has been healthy for the most part. But like, I actually think there's a chance that Hart, especially if Hart gets the start at point guard, right? If he doesn't start alongside Brandon Williams, if Williams is coming off the bench, that's his name, right? Williams, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And Hart starts the point. At that point, I would really want to get him in my lineup. If he starts alongside a point guard, I still really like him. Again, you can run the numbers with these guys off the court. Small sample size, but I'm seeing Hart with like a 35% usage rate with the guys that he's likely to play with, 60 fantasy points per 36 minutes. Again, like I think his upside is just enormous. Do we know ownership is going to be popular on Hart or not?
He's 6K on FanDuel. He's definitely going to be on there. 7.4 too. I mean, I still 30%. I would say 25, 30. Like, I mean, I like him. It's hard not to. Even with these guys, like his usage in the past 6 games, like it hasn't been below 22% in any of those games. And Simon's played in a lot. He's just missing shots. 2 for 9, 5 for 12, 5-11. I guess maybe the last game, but like it's impossible not to like him, I think. So I'm agree with you. I think he's one of the stronger plays, and you have all the value in the world. So
especially if you're playing several Timberwolves, right? Like, so let's say some of these Timberwolves sit and you've got Towns, you got a Beasley, Jalen Noel, maybe. I think Hart's the guy you want on the other side, right? To try to keep that close to get those guys the full minutes. Who's the next guy for Portland if you're playing Hart, though, if you're going for a mini game stack there?
I mean, Brandon Williams price tag. Yeah. Like someone in chat asked, rank the Blazers. I think it's Williams 1, Hart 2 personally. The third one, Eubanks maybe, Watford. I don't know. Third one gets a little more tricky.
See, to me, you don't have to risk the third one because we have like 6 dudes with the Warriors that we'll talk about. We could have more Timberwolves guys. Like, I don't think you have to go and get risky with the Trailblazers guys tonight.
Those are the only 2 you touch, Williams and Josh Hart.
I think so. I mean,
that's kind of where I'm at too. Yeah,
it's like you're not even. I mean, look at the prices. Eubanks is 5K. This Watford dude is 5.1K. Like even LB is 4.5K.
Elijah Hughes 3K. I guess.
Hughes, yeah. If he were to start, I think Hughes is definitely a strong value at 3 flat.
At the Stoneman. Yeah, I agree with you. So yeah, Williams, Josh Hart is how we rank these. for sure. Let's get into the next game. This game locks at 8:30. Got news in this one. Utah Jazz, Dallas Mavericks, 216.5 total. Dallas is favored by 2.5. On the Utah side, Rudy Gobert is questionable. So that's big news. If he's out, Azubuike and Whiteside would split the 48 minutes at center is how I approach it. As far as Dallas, Brunson, Hardaway, Marquise Chris, Nidalinker all out. Maxi Cleaver is probable. Hoop, I'll go to you. I mean, Luka looks to be in the same spot as Jokic yesterday, meaning the ownership, I think it's overlooked a little bit. Hefty price tag. We have other studs on the slate people are spending on, but we know the ceiling's there. So is it a Luka night for you? Anything in this game that stands out?
Yeah, so me and DC have kind of been on the same page with Luka, a little more skeptical playing him with Brunson and Dinwiddie. I mean, the ball handling had to, some of that, his ball handling, some of his usage had to go to those guys. Well, now Brunson's out tonight. So I think Luka is firmly in play at 12.2K and probably my preferred spend. I mean, him and Jokic are right there, but the Nuggets they're playing nobody tonight. Like if they can't blow out that Warriors team, like, and then they're coming off an overtime game themselves. So if there's any opportunity to kind of rest Jokic here, they're going to take it. So I think I prefer Luka over Jokic tonight at that top end, and I do like Luka. I mean, look at who he's going to be on the court with. I mean, if Dinwiddie doesn't start, which I'm assuming they'll keep Dinwiddie off the bench, Reggie Bullock, Josh Green, Finney Smith, Powell, and they're favored. I mean, they're favored in this game against Utah. So I think this is a very ideal spot for Luka tonight at 12-2 without Brunson. They're going to stagger him and Dinwiddie most likely, which is very good. I mean, his usage should be through the freaking roof tonight. Like I said, they're favored in this game against Utah. So it's Luka. And then, I don't even hate Dinwiddie in tournaments. I don't think many people will play Dinwiddie. We have the Warriors news that overshadows any other news on the slate. So people might overlook Dinwiddie at 6-2. And he's had some big games coming off a 47 fantasy point game, 29, 30, 38, 28. And that's with Luka and Brunson out there. Well, now Brunson's gone. I mean, he's going to have a ton of ball handling responsibilities. And a big bump in usage. So I really like Dinwiddie tonight in tournaments. And then you go to the Utah side, they're getting Conley back. Gobert is questionable. Like you said, it's probably going to be a split at center, not enough to make either of those guys in play for me, especially on this slate where we already have all the value. I was on Mitchell last night. I was on Clarkson last night, but with Conley coming back, that's enough to take away from those guys. So it's Luka as probably my top play, and then Dinwiddie as a guy that I think could potentially go a little overlooked today.
All right, I'm on the same exact page as you. I think Utah's a stay away too. DC, do you have any Luka numbers for us? Because that usage is insane. How much he has the ball is insane. He's coming off a 71 piece. If you got some numbers, I'm interested to hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first off, I'll say just lockstep with Hoop on the Luka situation this whole time. Haven't been on him. He's had some big games and then some, disappointing games for his salary. So you can run the numbers with this is since the trade. So, you take Jalen Brunson off the court. And I think that's the key. People are going to underestimate just how much Jalen Brunson's involved in this offense still, even playing alongside Dinwiddie and Luka. And you can put Brunson off, Dinwiddie and Luka on together. So even if you do that, and we know they're going to stagger their minutes, like Luka's going to get, I don't know, almost half his minutes probably without Dinwiddie on the court. But if you even put them both on together, they've played 73 minutes on the court together where Brunson has been off. Luka's usage rate in those minutes, 41%, which is about as high as number as you're ever going to see, 63 fantasy points per 36. Brunson's usage when they're on the court together, 18%. So this is over 73 minutes. So that's basically 2 games of basketball. I know it's a small sample size, but that, that's not insignificant to me when you're talking about kind of this very specific situation. So I think it's going to be all Luka. Like you said, they're favored at home against the Jazz. It seems like he's gonna bring it tonight to me. So I'm with you, Hoop. I do have him as the number 1 stud over Jokic tonight. Not somewhere we've been these last 6-7 games, but tonight I'll be jumping on board. And I don't mind the Dinwiddie call. Numbers say maybe not, but we know he can ball. And he's going to get a chance to run the offense when Luka's not out there. Wouldn't be shocked to see him kind of catch fire. Would you be willing to play him with Luka on the same team? I kind of would want to separate him because you kind of want that added out of like Luka gets hurt or foul trouble or something. You know what I mean? Just to
I keep them separate for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you definitely don't want to play them together. So I agree.
Because you're not going to be like all in on Dinwiddie, right? More of a kind of a GPP play. You throw him on your team without
I just really think he'll be low owned and playing kind of well and gets this pretty big bump where most people are going to say, okay, Brunson's out, I want Luka, which is that's what you do want. I mean, you definitely want Luka tonight, but I don't think people are going to look at especially if he doesn't start. If he starts, his ownership will come up. But if he comes off the bench,
agreed,
which I think he will, ownership should remain in check.
Yep.
Yeah, Luka definitely makes some sense. Joe in chat at Hoop side, Luka's a favorite spend on the slate, so he'd be on that one side in that question. Next game on the slate, do us a favor, 459 watching, 186 likes, 250 is the number all set, 250 likes for the plays of the day. Hit that like, that big red subscribe button, and then we have a promo going on. Players 33 gets you 33% off your first month. Head over to Run Pure Sports, one price, all sports. Check it out, and then get in Discord too, because Discord's the best. Los Angeles Lakers, San Antonio Spurs, big total, 236. The Spurs are favored by 3. Going to the Spurs side, they have some injury news. Bates Diaw doubtful, Lonnie Walker doubtful, Devin Vassell doubtful, DeJounte Murray is probable. As far as the Lakers side, LeBron's questionable as always. We're just going to assume that he's going to play. If he's ruled out, it's not a standalone game at night like they have been in the past, so we would get the news. But we're going to go based on that he's playing. Hoop, I'll go back to you. We have so much value. Maybe the Spurs on another slate, like Doug McDermott, Primo, even Josh Richardson, min price 3K. Like 3 guys that have a role that get minutes are doubtful. So usually we'd go to a spot like this, but we have Warriors. We have Trailblazers. Are you just going to avoid the value? Is it just DeJounte? And then, man, LeBron, I have interest. Russell Westbrook, anybody else on the Lakers, I can't get to. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you laid it out perfectly. Like on a different slate, we'd be all over the Spurs. But again, we have, to me, like probably 6 or 7 better value plays on the Warriors team that we're going to get to next over any of these Spurs guys. So I don't think I can play any of these guys. The one I do kind of like, and he's not really a value, Keldon Johnson, already has a stable role. The minutes will definitely be there tonight.
Him or Dinwiddie, 6'3", 6'2", and they both
I'd probably go Keldon. I mean, but like Dinwiddie too. But I think Keldon's a fine option at 6'3". I don't think I want to mess with any of these cheap guys. I mean, to me, this game again, I mean, there's a lot of very clear games to me, but like it's LeBron and it's DeJounte Murray and really nothing else. Like I'm not playing anything else. I'm definitely not on the Lakers side. I have no interest in anyone on the Lakers side. DeJounte, I think, is the guy, he's already been a phenomenal play basically all season long. Now all those guys are out. They're favored by 3 here and a 236 total. Their team total is 120. Lakers obviously suck on defense. Spurs are going to be able to get whatever they want, and everything goes through DeJounte. So I think he's a great spend tonight. I think LeBron is fine. I probably prefer DeJounte over LeBron. I think he's just more stable and more steady, and he has all those guys out on his team. So I love DeJounte Murray tonight. I think LeBron, is an okay play. I don't know if I'm building like 20 teams, maybe I'd have a little LeBron, but I definitely prefer DeJounte. I definitely prefer Luka in terms of spends. And then Keldon Johnson's a fine option for me. I mean, definitely would include him in my player pool tonight as well.
Yeah, I like it. DeJounte should get whatever he wants against these Lakers. And LeBron, he's coming off a monster 77 piece. Was watching that game, man. He just went off 10 rebounds, but he had 3 assists, 43% usage rate. So
yeah, and we've seen this like towards the end of the season when he gets to the end of the season and he realizes his team's in trouble, which this team's in more trouble than any of the past. Like he kind of turns it on, and maybe that's what it was the other night. And when he kind of turns it on, you want to be on him. I'm not a LeBron guy. I hate him. I can't stand him. But like for fantasy purposes, when he hits that switch, you want to be playing him, and that switch might have been hit last game.
Yeah, we got to see if Matthew Stafford's back in the crowd. That's he was next to the bench, and he said he was like, I can't not put on a show when you're in the crowd. It was pretty cool. DC, head over to you. Someone brought up Malik Monk. He's been playing good basketball. So any interest in him? And then is it just DeJounte and LeBron? No value in this play or in this game? Yeah. What are you seeing?
I don't really ever play any Lakers outside of some LeBron. Even him, I don't play that much. I'll probably be the same way tonight. Maybe some LeBron if he fits your lineup, fine. but I don't feel the need to get him in. I prefer DeJounte Murray. I mean, we've seen him just take off, especially after the trade of Derek White. Obviously, they kind of handed him the reins. Listen, Lonnie Walker and Vassell, like those are two of the guys that could kind of create a little bit, at least on their own, create their own shot. You take them out of there. Now, pretty much the only other guy is Trey Jones, right? But like he's going to come off the bench as DeJounte is like kind of like strict backup, so won't be playing much together. I think Murray could just go absolutely off here. They've played each other 3 times already this season. Murray hasn't even shot well in those games. Like, what is he like? Yeah, 35% from the field, 36 minutes average, 59 fantasy points, 12.7 assists, 9.3 rebounds in those 2 games. He just brought the noise, right, against the Lakers 3 times in a row without even shooting well. If he had shot well in those games, you'd be looking at 65, 70 fantasy points per game. Now he's got, right, I mean, against a kind of a crumbling Lakers team at home, small favorite, his backcourt mates are out, and he's a player right now, right? An up and coming player, a superstar. He's gonna, he's kind of taking what he wants, right? And now he's got to do everything for this team. So I think Murray's got a chance to absolutely smash. I'm hoping people will look at that 11-1 price tag, right? I think unless he's been above, he's not. Yeah, this is probably the highest price tag of his career. I think it's safe to say for Murray. So maybe that keeps some people away, but not me. I think he should absolutely smash here. I like if you're want to go jump on DraftKings. I think he's got a good chance at a triple double here. You can find that. I think like plus 300 or plus 400, something like that. So yeah, I think Murray could absolutely smash.
Yeah, the price tag is high for sure, but it's warranted. It's not going to keep me away.
What is he on FanDuel, like 9,800 or something crazy? Yeah, I think
he's 9,900. Wow, yeah. Over on FanDuel, that's why I was going to say like Russell Westbrook 6,900. Hoop, you're still not getting there 6,900, right? Like 9,900 still.
Man. He just sucks. I mean, I don't even 69. You got to do something. I just can't believe they keep trotting him out there. I mean, he's just worthless. He does nothing to improve the team, but they're committed to him, not paying the 8-1. And I mean, I guess 6-9 if you like Westbrook, sure, but I don't see it.
Yeah, like still DeJounte's only 9-9, Luka's only 10-7. Like all those studs are a little too cheap on FanDuel where you can jam them in. Yeah. You definitely don't got to go to Russ, but yeah, DeJounte should go off. It should be a fun one. I don't mind the Keldon Johnson call. I think it's interesting too. Yeah. That mid-tier, Dinwiddie, Keldon, like that mid-tier might just be overlooked completely since we have so much good value. And if you just mix one of them in there, we know Keldon has a 50 piece for a ceiling against a bad team like this. So definitely an interesting game, big total, close spread. So I'm excited to watch that one for sure. We got 2 games left. 211 likes? So 39 more likes for the plays of the day. 2 games left. You guys got a little time left. Golden State Warriors, Denver Nuggets, 220.5 total. Denver is favored by 8.5. Going to the Golden State side, man, the injury report is long. Go with the guys out first: Steph, Clay, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond, Gary Payton, Andre Iguodala, James Wiseman. The questionable takes: Otto Porter Jr., Juan Toscano-Anderson, which, won't sound like the biggest news, but those are 2 bodies that would soak up a lot of minutes if they play. So it definitely means something on this slate. Going to the Denver side, Will Barton is questionable. I wish he was questionable and then ruled out with Jokic last time they played because he was absolutely brutal and we all jammed him in, but he's questionable. Decent news. Hoop, I'll go to you. I mean, just rank the Golden State Warriors. There's so many good plays. If you have a ranking, rank them. I know some of it's probably going to be close. And then talk about the min and max you would have on a team if you're 150 and you're setting a rule.
Yeah, so I mean, I talked about it early on. I mean, you want definitely at least 2, 3, and I think this is a situation where you could even do 4 just because these guys are all so cheap. I mean, the best offensive player on their team, the guy with the highest usage, most likely is Jordan Poole. He's 5.3K. So you're getting an entire offense, a team that's projected to score 107 for like dirt cheap. So, you definitely want at least 2 on every team, and I'd argue even more. And the situation could even improve more because they listed Otto Porter and Toscano-Anderson as questionable. And the way I'm seeing this, if both those guys sit, they're looking at 8 dudes tonight. So this is 9 p.m. Eastern game, 2 hours after lock. you're going to have multiple value plays here. And like I said, it's only going to improve. Like these guys are already really good plays to rank them, Poole, probably like Damian Lee, Kuminga continues to play well. Just I guess it really depends on what happens with like Otto Porter. Like if Porter's out, then like Kuminga is like a great play. Bielitsa is another guy to throw in the mix. So we just need to see what happens with those other guys, see who starts. But just know, you're going to have multiple value plays, at this point where you can shuffle things around, play different guys. On the Nuggets side, Will Barton questionable. It doesn't really matter at all on this slate. If you're going to play Denver, it's just going to be Jokic. You're not going to play any of these other guys tonight. Even if Barton sits, Jokic is still the only guy that I would consider. Back-to-back overtime game last night, facing a team with all their studs out is enough to kind of rank Jokic for me under those other guys like Luka and DeJounte, and honestly, maybe even LeBron. So Jokic, not a priority for me tonight because of that overtime game last night and the fact that he's going up against a G League team tonight. So probably no Jokic, and he's the most expensive guy in the slate. So it's all about the Warriors here. The slate is really all about the Warriors. We have, 6, 7 really, really strong value plays here.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I'm not playing any Denver. DC, rank the Warriors. How many is too many? What's the minimum you would set? Talk about that, because that's a freaking question I know we're going to get.
Well, if Porter and Toscano Anderson sit, then the answer to how many is too many is
whatever DraftKings lets you.
Yeah, like 6. 6, and then you could go 6, and then Joker and Luka.
Because at that point, blowout, nothing matters. Every single guy that dresses,
they will be down. Play. They will be down to 8 guys if those 2 guys sit. I'm not going to be surprised if those 2 guys sit. That's kind of what it feels like. They're like, all right, well, everyone else is resting. Porter, you guys. We'll play with 8 tonight and just let it go. I think Poole's going to be on all my teams, regardless of what happens anywhere, unless he himself sits, which seems very, very unlikely. So Jordan Poole, I think, is the number 1 guy you want. From there, though, it gets tough with the Warriors. Not in terms of I want at least 3, probably 4. Not in terms of how many I want to play, but who I want to play, right? It's close between Bielitsa at 3,500 and Kuminga at 4,500 and Looney at 4,100 and Damian Lee at these guys are all good plays, but on each individual lineup, you can get close to playing them all, but you can't quite play them all, and you gotta have to spend somewhere, right? That's the bigger issue is eventually you're just gonna run out of needing value plays. So ranking them is tough, but I don't feel like you can really. Obviously, some of the plays are going to end up doing better than the others, but I think it's really, really hard to say who it's going to be. So I'm not as worried about who I choose on any individual lineup. Just kind of fill in the other spots, and if I have 4,500 left for Kuminga, cool. If it's 3,500 before Bielitsa, I'm good with that too.
That's the main point. Just to add on to that, it's like one of those slates where a lot of times you'll jam in your value plays first and see what you can get with the rest of your lineup. Sure. Tonight you should be building. If you hand build, it should be different. Put in the guys that you want. Put in the studs that you want. Put in the mid tier guys that you want, and then figure out the value after. Because you said, outside of Poole, all those guys are. Yeah.
Do I want Towns or Luka? Okay, you choose that. I think you can make a case for either guy, and then that will kind of depend. Who you choose there will kind of determine which Warriors you play. And I think that's okay tonight.
Correct. Yeah. Outside of Poole. Poole's the one I agree with you. That is the priority. Poole's the priority. The rest of those guys, they're all really good plays.
Yeah, that's a good talk to have. People out there, people that do hand build, or even if you build with an Saber Sim, you can still, find your favorite stud. If it's Luka, you play Luka. If it's DeJounte, LeBron, Trae Young, you name it. Lock that in the optimizer and then see kind of what the optimizer, what you think with the Warriors value. Like you said, the situation can't get worse. It only can get better if these questionable tags do become out. Then you can jam them all. You could play Jokic, like we said, DC, Jokic, Luka, all the Warriors. It's going to be a crazy slate for sure. So what about leaving 400 on the table today? That, I think that's viable. Who DC people ask, is 400 too much to leave? NBA is not a sport I do too much. but I think you can do that today.
You can leave tonight where there's so much value. You can leave more than that. I mean, even on a normal slate, you can leave. That's one thing where people just get too tied up, like trying to fill out the entire salary for every sport.
The simplest example tonight is one we just gave, like Kuminga versus Bielitsa. Like right there, that's $1,000 you could leave. Bielitsa, I think, outscores him 40%, 45% of the time. So. Yeah. I will say if Porter ends up playing 4,600, if he starts and plays, he would be near the top of my list with Poole.
Yeah, starters will be interesting to see for sure, but don't be afraid of the people off the bench either. They just don't have bodies. The ownership,
especially if they're down to 8 guys.
Yeah, the ownership will be lower because of that for sure. People in chat saying Boogie 20 minutes. Could see more Boogie on the back-to-back. I don't know. I'm not going to Boogie. No. He treated us well a couple nights ago. What Craig said, Titletown, is this a 2-stud build with all the value? I mean, yeah, I think you easily, unless you really want to just load up. Yeah. The answer for me is yes.
Yes.
I think it's a 2-stud build. If you want to get different and jam the mid tier a little bit with 1 stud, it'll make you different. But there's just so many good studs on this slate with upside. So I think that's definitely the route to go today.
There's just there's so many guys that are under 4K that are likely to get like 30 fantasy points, where, I mean, you want to keep that in mind when you're building your teams. Like there's no way around it. There's going to be multiple guys under $4,500 that have huge games tonight. It's going to happen. So that should lead you in one direction.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it could even be from the Spurs side, Doug McDermott, like Trey Jones, like there's multiple spots where teams are shorthanded. So definitely start scrubs night. Looks like we got 233 likes, 1 game left. So 17 likes. Next time I come back to it, if it's not 250, I'm going to have to pull them from you. And I don't know how long this game's going to take. So hit that big red like, or hit that like button and that big red subscribe button. 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Rubio probably will have a Showdown playbook, I assume, out. He's been running good on it. 10:30 standalone game. So assume prize pools are decent. New York Knicks, Sacramento Kings, 232.5 total. Sacramento is favored by 4. On the King side, Jeremy Lamb, Mo Harkless are out. Going to the Knicks side, Derrick Rose, Obi Toppin, Kemba Walker, Quentin Grimes, Nerlens Noel out, Taj Gibson questionable. So not really any news in this game, not too many changes. DC, I'll go to you. I mean, Alec Burks, JSURab, RJ Barrett, Dante DiVincenzo. I don't know. Throwing out some names. Did any of them interest you? Talk about it.
I mean, I don't think they're like necessarily bad plays.
Just the slate. We're going from talking about all these great spots to this.
but I mean, this is a kind of a good spot too. Like for a normal slate, 233 total, expected to be relatively close. And there is like decent amount of injury news on both sides. Both sides missing players, but it's just not as good as the other games, right? That's all relative. And I think there'll be players in this game that have big games. You know, Fox has been excellent, 50 plus burgers in a row, gets another great matchup. Barrett's been good. Randall could smash here. I mean, even Mitch Robinson's got his 2 backups out and could, you know, his issue is the minutes, and he could see 35 minutes here against Sacramento. Like that's a great spot for a $5,300 center. So there are places you can go here. It's just hard to make a case for them over some of the value out there is all. So I won't have much exposure to this. Like if I end up with a lot of exposure to this 8:30 game, something will have gone wrong I didn't expect, you know, and you ended up swapping to it or something like that. But as it stands now, I'm not going to be have many players from the silent game on my rosters.
Makes sense. Hoopa, go to you. See anything in this game that intrigues you?
Yeah, I mean, some decent plays, like, you know, Dante DiVincenzo's been playing minutes and playing well, but like, can you play him over some of those guys in the on the Warriors? To me, that answer's no. So, you know, I'm not going to have any of him. Like Sabonis at 9.6, Fox at 9.3. Like they're close enough to that top tier where I just can easily get to, you know, DeJounte Murray over these guys. So I don't think I'll have definitely either of them. Alec Burks, I think, is a good play at 5.8K. He's been playing well. I think it's a pretty good spot here against the Kings. 28, 41, 34 fantasy points in a blowout last game. He's been playing over 30 minutes. I think he's an okay option tonight. But, not a ton overall here for me.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go quick. Apone asked about talking about the Warriors on FanDuel. I think that is a little important before we get to the plays of the day. They did get the likes, so good on that. But if you look at the Warriors prices on FanDuel and stuff and the ownership, it's looking like they're coming in a lot lower owned on FanDuel. Jordan Poole, obviously 4.7. He's a lock and load, I think. But Hoop, if you look at like Kuminga 4.6, only small forward eligibility. Otto Porter 4.1 if he plays.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense, but he's questionable. Damian Lee 4.1. Kevon Looney's 4.7. Bielitsa 3.9, only power forward. Like, I don't have the same amount of interest on FanDuel, but what are your thoughts on it?
Well, just simple. I mean, the reason's very simple. I mean, the studs aren't priced as high on FanDuel, so you don't need to come down there as often. Like we just talked about it, DeJounte Murray at 9.9K. Like that's way too cheap. Josh Hart at 6K. Like you look at the difference between the pricing difference on DK between Josh Hart and the Warriors guys, it's pretty substantial. Well, you come on FanDuel and there's not much of a difference between Josh Hart and the Warriors guys. So yeah, they're going to be lower owned for sure. But like I said, a few of these guys are going off. There's just no way around it. So I think there's still good plays on FanDuel. The reason they're not having as high ownership is just because of roster construction. You don't need as much value to get to the top tier. Karl Anthony Towns is 9.2K on FanDuel. That's an egregious price tag. And we see with FanDuel every year at the end of NBA season, they kind of just give up on the pricing. I think we're at that point where they're just like, yeah, fuck it. We're just rolling with these prices and, build an all-star team.
Today's the day it really started hitting me, and I noticed that FanDuel's pricing because it was good for a lot of the year.
It was. They were very aggressive and they made some strong moves, but today it was a poor performance on their part today. Even like Jimmy Butler.
Maybe this time of year they typically move the NBA pricing person over to baseball, but baseball.
Yeah. Maybe they need to bring them back.
It hit March. Anytime it hits March, you can start looking for it to get bad. And that's a good explanation though, and that's a good question. I still like the Warriors over there. Like some of these guys are going to have to get there, and they're going to be lower owned because of it. So that's the breakdown for the Warriors on FanDuel. Looking at the likes, 263 likes. We appreciate it for sure. So guys got enough. It's time for the plays of the day. DC, I'll head over to you first. The Mom's Basement play of the day. I'll mix it up a little bit. I'm not going to go first myself. Who do you got for us?
I'm going to stay away from the Warriors. I think Poole is too much of a cheat code. He's just like
I would have vetoed that. I wouldn't veto too much.
And I don't feel strongly enough about any one Warrior to make them my play of the day today. So I'll steer clear of that situation. Obviously going to have a lot of Warriors on my team. I'm going to go with Josh Hart. I think there is some risk there. He's going to be very popular on FanDuel, I'm sure, at 6K. I think he's got enormous upside against the Wolves tonight. Some risk of a blowout. Maybe Portland can't compete. You never know. But, talking tournaments here, I think he's got a chance to put up that's 55, 60-plus fantasy point game, 7,400. Ownership will be not unknown, but not crazy high on. I don't think so. I'll go Josh Hart.
I like it, Josh Hart, the Mom's Basement play of the day. I'll go to myself. I hope I didn't steal Hoops. Hoop brought him up, and it just clicked for me. Keldon Johnson. Hope that wasn't yours, Hoop. 6.3K on DraftKings, 5.6 on FanDuel. He's coming off a good game, 37 minutes, 47 DK points. This Lakers team's just absolutely terrible. The usage is going to be there. The upside's there. And it's in a range that you just won't see people go. Same with Josh Hart as much. I mean, he'll be some owned, but if you go Keldon, Josh Hart, that's a range that people aren't going to live in as much. So Keldon Johnson, the SO play of the day. Hoop, the Mom's Basement play of the day. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm sticking in the same range as you guys. I'm going with the other guy that we're all kind of high on, Spencer Dinwiddie, 6.2K, no Jalen Brunson, especially if you're not playing Luka. Like if you're making teams and they don't have Luka, I love having Spencer Dinwiddie in there. Been playing well, is going to get a nice boost in minutes and usage tonight. Hopefully they stagger him and Luka so he can kind of be out there by himself playing with the rest of these bums. So give me Spencer Dinwiddie as the Monday night Rich Parents play of the day.
I love it. Spencer Dinwiddie, Josh Hart, Keldon Johnson, 3 plays of the day. Kyle Lowry on track to play. Caleb Martin on track to play. So news is starting to hit.
And Oladipo is making his debut. So even more reason to not play the Heat tonight.
Oladipo, yeah. Wow, I just glanced right over that. Oladipo name, I haven't seen that pop up too much. But Oladipo making his debut. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. News is starting to hit. The Up to Lock show will be very important. For us, lock kind of starting at 8 p.m. Eastern for the most part. If you want to one-off something, you always can. But, hey, you can go if you're like, man, go to myself. You don't have a hot plate of dinner ready for us right away. It's Monday, too. Hoop doesn't either. You can go get the food ready and come back later for lock. But Appreciate you all hanging out with us. Hit that like button on your way out. Hit that subscribe button. Players33 is the promo code coming out today. That came out today. 33% off your first month. Head over to Run Pure Sports. Players33. Big golf tournament, MMA, NASCAR, NBA. Lots of stuff going on. Hopefully baseball too. Baseball. We're still going to be optimistic about that, but head over to Run Pure Sports, check it out. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe on your way out. That's going to do it though. For Hoop, DC, Simon Behind the Sticks. I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.